Okay, Nuri.
So,
Wait,
yeah.
just a minute. I have to open the slides. Okay.
Yeah. So good morning and good evening. Good morning in the Pacific time and good evening in Israel and in India and South Africa. Welcome to the second webinar of the School-Based Family Counseling Oxford Symposium. We are excited and expecting 4 days of interesting and diverse lectures. Our time is limited, so each lecture will last 30 minutes, and then we will have about 10 minutes for question and discussion. The presentation of the lecturers will be short, and their full biography will be posted on our website. It is a great honor for me to open the first day of our webinar with introducing of Professor Zipora Schectman. Professor Zipora Schectman is Professor Emerita at the University of Haifa in Israel. With a background in educational counseling, she trained teachers, school counselors, bibliotherapists, and group facilitators for many years. She is clinician and researcher in group counseling and psychotherapy, particularly in the area of children, adolescents, and parents. She published 125 scientific papers, book chapters, and 4 books. The 2 books in English are Group Counseling and Psychotherapy with Children and Adolescents, and the second is Child and Adolescent Treatment of Aggression through Bibliotherapy. Zipora Schectman will talk today on group to promote intimate parenting in school-based family counseling. Welcome.
Thank you, Norit. You didn't say that we share the same room for a while.
Yes.
Okay, at the university. Yeah. So I'm very happy to be here, to be back in this with this wonderful group. And I chose to talk about group counseling because I think that this is the optimal service that we can give to parents in school. Yet it's very rare. So to my lecture, I will explain why I think it's optimal and what kind of groups we do, how we conduct them, and I will show evidence base for these groups. So I'll start now. Hope to be, okay. I find that modern parents are highly involved in their children's lives. And when they are happy, they are happy. When they are sad, they are sad. They are very concerned about the children. And because of that, they are subject to confusion, disappointment, pain, worries, and anxiety and helplessness. It's all about emotions. It's important for me to mention this because our intervention is based on emotions. In the case of children with special challenges, which I worked a lot with them and their parents, emotions become even more disturbing, and the behavior of parents becomes more disturbing. So it's very important for us to make some change in parents' attitudes, feelings, and behavior with their children. Some examples, I'll show you all of them. First session, parents come in, and what do they say actually? It kills me to see him struggling with homework in 3rd grade. I'm really worried about his future. That's a mother of a child with a learning disability. I avoid people when I am with my child. I'm so embarrassed with his behavior, says a mother of a child with ADHD. My child needs to feel secured, but I cannot give him the warmth he needs. When I lose it, I hit him. But then I feel ashamed and angry at myself, a father of a child with behavior difficulties. Please notice that they don't talk about the child's problem. They all talk about their own problem, about their feelings and about the shame and disappointment or whatever. And that, therefore, this is the focus of our treatment. So whose problem is it? When a parent, normally when parents come for some kind of therapy or help, they present the problem and they say, fix the child. Actually, they want us very quickly to fix the child. And we cannot fix the child. We think that we have to fix the parent. And we have to teach the parent to go through some kind of understanding why they feel anxious, why they are stressed, why they feel afraid, ashamed, and so on, and go from there to some understanding and then change in behavior. So that for us, parents need to be the target of intervention. And that's kind of, it's not very usual, I have to say. And when they come, they themselves are sometimes resistant to this kind of of approach. But we have to insist on it because that's we believe in it. And the assumption, it's based on the assumption that parents' growth will have a healing effect on their children. I will show later evidence for that, but this is the assumption. When the parent change, but makes a real change in his thoughts, feelings, and behavior, then the child will benefit from this. But I want to start with Gerard's meta model, which guided me here too. It has, it's school-based family counseling. That's the model. And it has two, it has a double, it's a comprehensive model that has double focus and double level. So the focus is on school and family, of course, and the connection between them. The double level is the prevention and intervention. Now I have to say, well, I'll explain first, and then I was sharing in Israel a committee, a national committee from the Academy of Science in Israel, exactly about school and family relationship. And what we found out that there is resistance from both sides for some collaboration. Teachers were afraid of parents. Parents wanted to intervene too much about things, and teachers felt that they are embarrassing them. So it's not an easy task, but according to the model, the prevention one includes, I'm talking about Gerard's model now, the prevention level includes psychoeducational and guidance groups for teachers and students. In Israel, we have a social emotional learning program that is present in many schools, skills training, classroom meetings, and so on. That's quite known. And on the intervention, and by the way, very important, the CEL now is a very big thing in Israel too. And intervention, which is counseling and psychotherapy for teachers and consultation, crisis intervention, which is mostly done in an individual setting. The family focus, according to Gerard's model, is parent education, support groups. I must say that I have 4 kids in different schools, here and in the United States, and 12 grandchildren, and I have never heard that the school did something about providing education to parents or support groups for parents and so on. Sometimes it works for immigrants. I had one session for adolescents. One of my child was an adolescent, but that was basically it. With learning disabilities and ADHD, we have a little bit more interventions. And on the intervention level, we have family counseling, parent consultation, and group counseling. And that's what I chose. I think this is the highest level that we can get to. And group counseling means really changing something in parents' attitudes, feelings, and behavior. So that's where I came from, counseling and therapy groups. Oh, sorry. So what did I do? Okay. So our goal is actually to change parent-child relationship, not to change the child, not to tell the parents what to do and how to respond, but to change parent-child relationship. It's quite rare, and when I talk about parent-child relationship, I mean intimate relationship. That's the goal, intimate relationship. You know, treatment is a process, of course, and we have structured treatment and non-structured treatment. In our case, it's an open process, a process with group, including self-expressiveness, developing insight, increasing empathic understanding, changing perceptions and behavior. We all know that there is not one theory in psychology, and there is a debate about which one is good. So it can vary actually from CBT to psychoanalytic. The focus of our intervention is emotion-focused therapy. Leslie Greenberg is the person that wrote about and developed this method, mostly for individual treatment. And what we did, we took it to group treatment, but the basis is focusing on emotions. So what is intimate parenting? It's relationships that are based on emotional ties. And the characteristics of them is emotional closeness, loving and liking, honesty and spontaneity, trust and loyalty, empathic understanding, security and uniqueness, mutual interest. These are actually characteristics based on research that was done at the University of Haifa by Ruth Sharabani and by me and by several other people. We started working on intimate relationship between friends, and we moved to working between parents and children. These ingredients are presented in a language of feelings. The parents have to talk about, express their feelings verbally. They should show it non-verbally. They should listen empathically and spend time together. Even just spending time is intimacy in some way. So why did I say that it's an optimal frame for intervention? And why do I think that it's the best thing to do in a group? Because group norms require participation to share feelings, self-disclose, personal information, to listen carefully to others, to try to help other people, to provide support, offer constructive feedback. These are all behaviors that should be in intimate relationship. And the reason that we we found out that many parents, although they may be very good, have very good intentions, they cannot be intimate with their child or with other people. So in a group, they get this ability, those abilities that are needed for intimate relationship. So in this group becomes an intimate entity. And the same ingredients are needed in intimate parenting. So they're actually copying what they have learned or developed in a group, learned in an experiential way, of course, and they can then use it in the relationship with other people, including with their children. Just one example, we are talking about secrets, for example. How many parents tell a child their secret, a simple secret? How many parents tell a child their dream, the desire, the disappointment, something that they felt? Do they share it? Now, if they cannot share this, they cannot be intimate with the child, and vice versa. The child does not learn how to be intimate with the parent. So this mutual relationship needs to develop in both sides, and the parent is actually responsible for developing with the children, because children are not born to talk about feelings and to share private information and so on. They need the models first in the family and then in school, of course, and other places. So how do groups become intimate? Not all groups become intimate. If you take a classroom or a group of people that just sit together in one place, do they become intimate? Not necessarily, right? You have to do something to to create a culture of intimacy. And actually what we know is that it's the therapeutic factors that are specific for groups like we do that create this kind or lead to this kind of intimacy, which is relationship and cohesion. These groups are based on relationship and cohesion. In example, when parents come in, the first thing we do, we don't let them talk about the child and his difficulties. We want to talk about the strength of the parent. So we ask them to talk about the good things that they can talk about themselves, the power that they have and so on, and build their power and make them think about the good things and share it with other people. We ask them to express their feelings, to go to,
Yeah, trying to get double checks and stuff like that. So.
somebody's talking with me here.
Please mute yourself if you're not presenting.
I don't hear. Did someone talk to me? No.
This is
No, I don't see the people. So what's going on? I don't hear.
You're okay, Zippy. You can speak. Yeah, nobody was speaking. Just we had to mute.
Okay. There is a lot of interpersonal learning going on. One parent talks about his disappointment for his son. He says, I was a sport person. I went fishing. I went all kinds of trips and so on. My son is only watching TV. He doesn't want to do anything of this kind. And he feels really none close to him. He really feels that he's not this kind of son that he expected him to have. And so he's very disappointed. But another father gets into this conversation and says, I felt the same way. I am a doctor, a medical doctor. I wanted my son to be a medical doctor, but he wants to be a musician. And so I have learned, he invited him to listen to his music. He got very excited about how good he feels about his music. and he decided that he will accept his son with his special will and and tendency and so on. And so this kind of interpersonal learning helped the other parent understand that he has to back off and let his son be whatever he can be or want to be. So these are the three most important therapeutic factors in a group: the cohesion or relationship, self-expressiveness, which is talking about self and developing insight, and interpersonal learning. And there are, of course, some others. There is hope, there is universality. We all feel the same way, or the two of us feel the same way. People are altruistic, they help each other, they imitate behavior, they provide information, they develop friendship skills, they talk about their family and make some corrections there. And there is, of course, the existential factor, which is the agreement and accepting life as it is. So these are the 11 therapeutic factors that work in group. The more the group therapist can develop or bring up all those therapeutic factors, more successful will be his group. What have we learned from our research? The first thing was interesting because it was done on an adolescent group. And what we found out, and it was focusing on friendship. And what we have learned from this was that children who developed intimacy skills within the group were able to transfer this knowledge to out-of-group relationship. That was very important for us to understand that if we teach in a group some things, in the way we do, it may be transferred to other relationship, which we expected actually. Okay, and the most important thing was to show evidence-based. Do we really know that these groups work? How do we know? So we did 5 big studies with many parents involved, and asking the question whether parents change or not. So the first one was groups of our type compared to educational groups. That was the first study, and we had 54 families in each of the conditions. In our condition, I explained the method. In the educational group, there were experts who came and talked about the difficulties of learning disability. All parents were parents of learning disabled children. The results were that our groups were much more effective. Actually, in the educational group, not only there was no change, but actually there was a negative outcome in parents' stress. And our explanation was that parents must have been hearing such, get the information about the learning disabilities. It's quite frightening when you listen only to lectures and you cannot respond, or you don't understand, or you don't interact with other people. So that was one study. The second one, we compared group treatment with individual treatment, and the results were very similar, which means that in terms of cost effectiveness, we should go into groups more than into individual treatment, because we get many more people this way, to help this way. The third one, we tried to compare treatment in 3 conditions when we treated only children or only mothers, or mothers and children together. And what we found that when we treated mothers and children together, we got the best outcomes in terms of behavior. On other variables, actually, we had good outcomes also when we treated only children or only mothers. And then the last biggest study actually was we measured the outcomes on children's behavior with the children not being involved in any treatment, only the mothers. And the results were excellent in terms of 3 different people who provided the evaluations. The last one, it's not the last one, but in the middle, we did it with a different culture, just to show that another culture did not affect the outcomes. So we have 5 studies actually. I missed something. Okay. Then we did also process studies to see what actually helped in those groups. So as it's written in the literature, and we found the same thing, is group cohesiveness and interpersonal learning were the most important factors mentioned by parents in group treatment. And the other thing was that when we asked what actually changed, so mothers changed in their perception of the problem. They saw the problem in a better light, in an easier way, increased insight of the parents, and enhanced the perception of their parenting style, which means that they became less authoritarian, more authoritative, more understanding, more empathic, and so on. So, the unique features of this intervention, I'm just summarizing. Parents are the target of treatment, which is, as I said, unusual. The focus of treatment is on emotions, also unusual. And group is a preferred mode of intervention because the group factors really, really help parents make a change. The validity of treatment has been shown in numerous scientific studies. Our clinical work supports the results, and we can say easily that evidence base is here. Quotes from, I started with quotes from parents, so I will end with quotes from parents. At the end of the treatment, some parents said, they were all very enthusiastic, but parents said, some groups supported my functioning as a mother. I became a warmer person. So tell me, my friends. In other words, the change in her character was so obvious that other people could see it, not only the child. That's the feedback she got. The group helped me see the positive aspects of my daughter. I managed to diminish the negative. I understand now what my child is going through, and I appreciate him more than ever. So just an example, but you can see from this that they are not talking, I solved the problem. What they say is that I feel different, and therefore the child feels different. Okay, so this is my latest book about intimate parenting, by the way, and that's why I decided to come to this conference. It's in Hebrew, of course, and not translated yet into English, but thank you is written in English, so thank you. So now I have to go back, right? Okay, okay. Stop share.